Hey guys, today's video will be showcasing my custom 212 Recon ARF Trooper from Battlefront 2. They also appear in Clone Wars episode during the second Battle of Geonosis where Waxer and Boyle appears in this armor variant. But the one I'll be painting will be the Assault variant that appears in the video game. So I guess this is in a way my Gaming Greats series, right? So every project I find a thesis on what I want to learn from it. For example, in the Sergeant Hound and Grizzer, I did it to challenge myself to sculpt the Massif, while the Jet Trooper, I did it to customize and fit the backpack. But in this case, the camel pattern will rely heavily on hand painting. As I've mentioned in my previous videos, I try to spray paint whenever I can. I take the time to apply masking tape even for the most basic shapes. It just lends to a more cleaner result because nothing destroys the scale like sloppy brushwork. However, in this case, it seems pretty unavoidable to paint by brush. So along the way, I learned some techniques on how to brush effectively to give it the best results, which I want to share with you. Okay, before I move forward with the process, I will show you the results. I'm overall pretty happy with the way it turns out. No paint rub, everything's smooth and even. It's just a basic design with a really cool paint scheme. I think this build is a success in the sense that each of the steps works smoothly and I was able to complete the custom in 2 to 3 days without any hitch. So without further ado then, let's move on to the process. First order of business, take your figure apart. Soak it in a bowl of hot water for about 30 seconds and the figure should disassemble without much resistance. I find that bootleg figures is a lot easier to detach. The next step is to lay down the lightest color in a camel pattern, which in this case will be the tan color. The reason why we go with the lighter color is that later on when you want to go in with the darker color, it will be a lot easier as opposed to doing a lighter color on top of dark color. Because if it's going to be a light color on dark color, then you will end up having to do a lot more layers. And the more layers, the more messy brushwork that's going to be involved. Next, we'll paint the major color blocks. That will be the entire body, the yellow accents on the shoulder, and the visor on the helmet. And once you have done with this step, you would want to spray everything with a lacquer clear coat. This will enable you later on to go in with enamel or acrylic paints on top of that. Any mistakes that you have made, you could easily take it off with an acrylic or enamel thinner without damaging anything below the lacquer clear coat. Now comes the fun part, the hand painting. I went with Tamiya acrylic paint. I used a model paint scoop to dump about 4 scoops of paints, then applied a retarder, which acts as the thinner on the paint to make the paint last a little bit longer. I applied about 3 to 4 drops. The amount depends on your own preference. You can comfortably work for about 10 to 15 minutes without the paint drying up. As for the camel paint, you want to lay it on quick and swift. Don't worry about the colors not appearing solid enough. Just lay the pattern down and make sure you don't belabor the painting and begin to cake up the paints. Wait for half an hour for the paint to cure and go over the pattern again with a fresh batch of paint until the patterns are solid and the edges are sharp. Now, to add an extra dimension to the camel pattern, I added a third color. And in this case, I found a gray, which is different from the other 2 colors. Now here's the fun part. For the visor, right? Try using a panel liner to first create a clean outline. Notice how the paint will just do the job by itself if the details are sharp enough. And in this case, John Walker Customs have really sharp details. Be careful though, not to flood the piece with the panel liner liquid if you get kind of messy. Then wait for it to dry and then fill out the rest of the visor with a panel marker or black paint. You probably don't have to worry much about the edge due to the previous step, and you'll come up with something that's very neat and clean. As for weathering, I applied a dry brush with silver onto the edge to bring out the details of the piece. Now remember, easy does it, don't overdo it. So finally, I spray a layer of lacquer clear coat. I usually like my armor in semi-gloss and the joints in matte. So semi-gloss in this case would actually add a layer of sheen and polish to this piece, especially over the camel paint, so just to even smooth it out even more. So there you have it. I hope that you like this video and you find it helpful. I try to keep it short because I don't want to have another 40-minute video like my last instructional video. But I'm still trying to figure out what's the best format to do this. Please let me know in the comments whether or not you want it longer or shorter or a little bit more detailed. But in any case, I'll see you later, and thank you for tuning in.